Good evening. If everyone would start making their way to their seats.
Hey, Steve. I know I asked you this last year. What years did you coach?
Good evening. If everyone would have a seat, we're going to begin our ceremonies. I would like to welcome everyone to the second annual White County High School Athletic Banquet for the Hall of Fame. We're pleased each of you have chosen to attend tonight's ceremony. White County has a great pride in the programs here at WCHS. Many have donned the maroon and gray and proudly represented WCHS. Tonight we will honor Mrs. Candace Mitchell Burtner and Mr. Bill Franklin. These two deserving former student athletes have represented WCHS well, both during and after their time here at WCHS. Tonight's ceremony could not have been possible without the contributions and hard work of several groups and individuals. Life Church Sparta, Luna and Son Tire, the White County High School girls basketball team, Mrs. Kim Holman, Mrs. April Smith, the WCHS FFA program, Four Heifers and a Pig Catering, the WCHS JROTC, Miss Ashling Wright, Vicki Crane, and Coach Terry Crane. Thank you to all these individuals and groups who have helped make tonight possible. At this time, the WCHS JROTC program will present our nation's colors, and WCHS senior Ashling Wright will sing our national anthem. Please stand.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We will have the food served to you at your tables. Our servers tonight are from the FFA program and the girls basketball team. And at this time, I'd like to ask Reverend Brad Walker to come and do our invocation.
Congrats to both inductees. Let's pray. Father, you are so good. And what an amazing thing it is to gather with friends and to give honor where it's due. And we pray that you would just bless our time. We thank you so much for Bill and for Candace, for their hard work, for their achievements. And we pray, God, that you would just bless our food and that you would bless our time tonight. We love you, and we thank you most of all for your Son, Jesus Christ, who died for our sins so that we may have eternal life. We ask this in Christ's name. Amen.
If you guys will just be seated, they'll be bringing your food out.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. We want to thank everyone for coming, and congratulations to the inductees again. And we'll start with the guest speakers. And this guy really doesn't need an introduction. He's known throughout White County, and he's a 1963 graduate of White County and played basketball. And his junior year, they were third in the state. So he's a good athlete himself. So if Mr. Ed Medcalf would come up and.
Anybody need to go to the bathroom or anything before I get started? I don't want you to miss anything. Everybody's been coming up to me, wanting to know how long my speech is going to be, so I don't think it'll hurt you too bad. Sit here a little while. So this is a good turnout. I want to thank everyone that made it here tonight to honor these two great athletes. Bill and I have a firsthand knowledge of just how good Candace was, because we probably went to 98% of her games or more, and it was great. We really enjoyed it, and that was before they had the platform like Facebook Live, Expositor Facebook, Upper Cumberland Reporter, and Ben Lowman. So we had to go in person. We couldn't watch it on TV. And what a great ride that was, and we enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you, Candace, for all the enjoyment you gave us. We really appreciate that. This Hall of Fame induction is such a great honor. It will live on forever, even, if we have a new school or something like that. The Hall of Fame inductees will live on forever. What a great honor this is for me that my lifelong friend, Bill Franklin, asked me to present him for this induction. I suppose there are younger people that don't know Bill Franklin, the professional golfer. They know Bill Franklin as a super fan. Bill has been and still is one of the best supporters of Warrior and Warriorette athletics. He never saw a game he didn't like, and he's seen plenty of them. Special thanks tonight to Mr. Wilson and Coach Crane and the girls that served and everybody that had something to do with this, and want to thank the selection committee for choosing Bill for this great honor. Thanks to all those for making this event possible. I know there's a lot of work and planning that goes into something like this. Now I'm going to give you a brief outline of how Bill got to this point. Bill was in the 8th grade and somewhere around 13 years old when he started playing golf. He spent many hours working on his game until he was able to make the first team that Sparta put on the course, and that was somewhere around 1963. He was good enough to be the #1 player on the team. His coach was Ray Cowden, and his teammates were Bob Hunter, Bob Kiesling, and Robert Agee. Their first match was against Bradley County and ended in a tie. Bill's opponent that day was a guy named Steve Sloan, and I'm sure many of you all have heard that name before and know who he is. In the fall of 1964, Bill was signed to a college scholarship to Tennessee Tech by Coach Raymond H. Bull Brown. It's been rumored that Coach Brown was overheard telling someone that Bill Franklin had more natural, God-given talent than any player that he had ever recruited in any sport. And Coach Brown had recruited plenty of them because he also coached at some time or other football, basketball, baseball, and golf. Bill's college career was cut short by the United States Air Force, which he served in from 1966 to 1969. He served his country honorably on the front lines in Thailand. After serving his time in the Air Force, he took his trade in 1970 to East Tennessee and started as a golf professional at Holland Hills Golf and Country Club in Knoxville. In 1972, he took a job as golf professional at Beaver Brook Country Club in Knoxville. In 1974, Holland Hills Country Club saw what they had missed, and they asked him to come back, and they hired him again. In 1975, Cedar Hills Country Club in Lenore City hired him as the head golf professional. In 1978, Bill made his way back to Sparta and was the head golf professional at the Sparta Golf and Country Club, and that lasted for 23 years. It was during the 1970s in East Tennessee that Bill started his assault on golf tournaments. He was winning so many tournaments that they were nicknamed the Bill Franklin's Benefits. It was during this time that Bill he won 3 straight tournaments by shooting 364s. He played the first tournament, which was a 2-day event, by opening up with a 71, and then followed up the second day by shooting a 64 and winning the tournament. In the second tournament, it was a 1-day event, and he shot another 64, won the tournament again. Then the third tournament was another 1-day event, and he shot another 64 and won the tournament. If you know anything about golf or have ever played, you know how difficult shooting 3 straight 64s in competition is. It was a common practice back then to have Monday or Monday-Tuesday pro-ams at these different courses. Tennessee had several pros playing on the PGA tournament at that time. And sometimes one of the pros would venture out and accept an invitation to play in the local tournament that Bill was in. And I'm not talking about a stiff, just trying to qualify for a tournament on the tour on Monday. These were guys that were on the money list. They were good players. So they would go out and play, and when they post the scores, come around and look at the leaderboard, and they look up there. Bill Franklin would be at the top. And they'd say, who is this Bill Franklin guy anyway? Well, it didn't take long for them to find out who Bill Franklin was. The decade of the 1970s is where Bill owned the game of golf. His pinpoint accuracy and scoring was like no other before or since. Bill was the Tennessee State PGA Player of the Year in 1975 and 1978. He was also the leading money winner in the state in 1975, 1976, 1977, and 1978. Just some of the tournaments that Bill won are the Knoxville Open, the Tri-Cities Open, the Mid-State Open, the Graymere Classic, the Bigby Hollow Open, the Med Open at Bellmead Country Club in Nashville, the Temple Hills Open, Southern Pro-Am, Tennessee State Open, Mid-State Open, Elm Hill Open, the Ted Rhodes Open, Pontiac Pro-Pro, KDS Midas Pro-Am, Capital City Open, hang on, there's a few more, State PGA, the Chattanooga Open, Music City Open, Fox Den Open, and the Niota Pro-Am. Now that's not all of them, that's just a sampling of what he won. I cannot comment on all these accomplishments of Bill without mentioning his wife Elaine. She was always there to take up the slack and fill in for him while he was away winning all these tournaments. Without her, none of this would have been possible. She would have loved to have been here tonight, but for health reasons, she was unable to attend. Bill, to this day, is still a great ambassador to the game of golf and to his school. There are thousands of players, young and old, who have called on Bill to help them improve their game, many of which have been on the middle school golf team and the high school golf team. He has given back to the game, which has been so good to him. Bill is still active in helping and teaching players to improve their game. Since 2010, he is the golf pro in residence at Southern Hills Golf and Country Club in Baxter. You can now see that Bill did not receive this honor just because it was his turn or they needed just another name on the wall. He is the greatest golfer from Sparta High School to ever wear the maroon and gray. I feel safe in saying that there is not anyone enshrined in this hall who wears the school colors prouder than Bill Franklin. He is the GOAT of Sparta High School golf, and that means greatest of all time. It is with great pride and pleasure that I present to you my friend and now Hall of Famer, Bill Franklin. Thank you.
How do you follow that? Wow. Whew, he took all my stuff. So I want to say a few things. First of all, thank you, Ed. I think you overdid it, but I enjoyed it. I want to thank my parents. And I promise my mama would have died for this right here. I guarantee she would have died for this. And so I want to thank my wife, who is ill at home, and she's with my daughter. She was always by my side. Congratulations to Candace. I got a great player because I seen her play. Because I was at all her games. I guess after turning pro in, say, Knoxville, or in 1970, I was in the Knoxville section for 8 years, Sparta, Tennessee for 23 years, Southern Hills for 15 years. Teaching kids has been my biggest thrill, and it still is. Some of Sparta's finest include Bill Hickey Jr., Steve Holland, Tommy Sims, Erica Lyson, John Ward, Stephen Luna, David Rogers, John Brockman, Jeff Payne, Derek Kirby, Kylie Crouch, and I've got Allison Gear, and there's many more. I forgot Allison's first name, I'd say for about 2 days, and they say that it gets worse. But I finally asked somebody about it. I played in 4 tour tournaments, and at that time, it was the Memphis Open, and I met Jack Nicklaus face to face. Jack Nicklaus. I played the mini tour in the 70s in Florida, and I was playing a practice round at a place called Bay Hill. And I met Arnold Palmer and his playing partner, Evel Knievel. And I'd say Arnold Palmer was probably my biggest thrill ever. I've won many tournaments in, say, Tennessee, but I would say that this is probably my biggest thrill tonight. And I will say thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Bill's such a great fan and a great supporter, and we appreciate you very much. You know, everybody has a Bill Franklin story. I've got one. My wife and I went to Florida, to Pensacola, in we are staying on the beach, and we were going out to eat one night, dinner, and passed by this golf course, and I said, oh, wow, I wish I'd have brought my clubs. And I thought, well, maybe I can rent some. So we went the next day, and I went in and talked to the golf pro. I said, hey, I'm from out of town. I'd like to rent some clubs and play some. He said, sure, no problem. He said, I just need your driver's license. That way, we get a copy of those. We get our clubs back, and all that. I said, sure. I handed him my driver's license. He looked at it, and he said, Sparta, Tennessee. And I said, yes, Sparta, Tennessee. He said, you know Bill Franklin. And I said, well, I sure do. He said, we used to play golf together years ago. So, Bill, I don't know what his name was, but he knew you. So, Bill's known not only in Tennessee, but he's known other states also for golf. Thank you, Bill, for everything. Okay, we have our next speaker tonight will be speaking in honor of Candace Mitchell. This is one of Candace's teammates. You know, your teammate and your family are the same thing. I talked to a lot of older athletes and, the ones that played years ago here in Sparta and other places, and they're like me. Sometimes they can't remember what they had for lunch, but I guarantee you every one of them can tell you who their teammates were back in high school. They remember those folks, and they always will remember them. So this lady, she played in 1988. She graduated in 1988, played basketball, and I asked her how long she played basketball with Candace, and she said forever. So I'm assuming that's from the middle school on up, probably, so for a long time. So at this time, we'll ask Miss Shelly Sims Little to come and speak.
Okay. Maybe I need to wait a second to get started because we're waiting on Candace. And that's par for the course, right? Okay, first of all, great to be here tonight. It's been a long time since I've stepped foot in this gym, and it was, what a joy. So many great memories, and to get to see my sweet friends and teammates and coaches, and yeah, wonderful to be back. A disclaimer, I was not asked to speak tonight because I'm an eloquent speaker, because I'm not. This is not my forte, but I do love Candace, so hopefully that qualifies me. I have played with Candace forever. I've known Candace forever, I feel like I have, and we always joke that we've lived like these parallel lives. We started playing together in junior pro for Credit Bureau when we were probably, I guess, about 6 years old. Probably. We were then rivals in elementary school and had some intense Finley and Woodland Park battles. But then, of course, back together for middle school and high school. Fast forward a little bit, we went on to play basketball in college. I was at Lipscomb, and Candace was at Belmont, so we were a whole 5 minutes apart for those 4 years. And then we reunite a few years later because we got to be roommates in pharmacy school. So. Okay, so let's rewind back to my first memory of Candace on our junior pro team. Maybe shocking to some of you, but she was not maybe the most fiercest of competitors at that point. She kind of just floated around the court. But she did look really cute with that ginormous gold bow on top of her head. We're all well aware that she was able to hone those skills through the years, and she obviously developed into an outstanding player. 1,421 points, and such a beautiful, beautiful, pure shot. And of course, that's a point guard's dream. And I probably never did thank you, Candace, for all those assists. So, thank you. You made us look good. When I started thinking about what to say tonight, I thought maybe I should recap some game where Candace scored 25 points or so and led us back to some comeback win. Now, I know that probably happened. It probably happened several times, but I just remember Candace. And I remember her forgetting her shoes. You may hear that a couple more times tonight, because that happened on more than one occasion for sure. I remember my teammates and I all trying not to laugh as Coach Hale tried to explain to us how to effectively play a trapping defense by saying it was like just like hemming up chickens. Do y'all remember that? It's like hemming up chickens. I remember Candace, the laid back, never in a hurry, steady, consistent Candace that we all love. But honestly, those are the same qualities that made her such an amazing player on the court as well. She never got sped up. She never got rushed. She was just a steady, calming influence who understood her role and was just so efficient with it. We could count on her every time we stepped on the floor. What a teammate. So now my mom that's back here, she would do a much better job of recapping all the games for you and quoting Candace's stats for all the games. But when I think back, I remember Candace, and not only was she an incredible basketball player, but she was the ideal teammate and precious friend. When she called me a month or two back to tell me she was going to be inducted tonight, she, of course, in her humility, said she was shocked and wasn't sure she belonged. Well, I, for one, am not. She, as much as anyone, deserves to be recognized tonight, and I'm so thankful I got to be on the court with her all those years to witness what she accomplished as an athlete, but even more thankful for our friendship. Congratulations, Candace. From the Gold Bow to the Hall of Fame, I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Our next speaker, thank you, Ms. Little. Our next speaker, he doesn't need any introduction either, but he was a 1983 graduate of White County High School. He coached here from 1993 to 1998. He amassed 142 wins and only 14 losses. We were number one in the state several times, and actually our team was number one in the nation in 1993. So he's a great coach and a great friend, Mr. Steve Holland.
Well, they had me come to talk about Candace, and I will. I'll get to her in just a second. But Bill Franklin, what a joy it is for you to be inducted, and an honor for you to be inducted in the Hall of Fame as well. Great friend, great coach, great teammate. Can't think of anybody other than my parents that supported me any more than he did, and Ed too, and I truly appreciate that. All right, now to Candace. First of all, I'd say a special thank you for having this, a Hall of Fame committee. And this is how naive I am. I don't even know who's on the committee. But whoever is on the committee, I appreciate you having this and picking these two fine athletes tonight. We're here to celebrate the accomplishments of these two. And there's an old saying that says that if you know, you know. Well, if you saw either one of these two athletes play their sport, then you know why we're here. There's no doubt about either one of them, 100% solid. I could go on and on telling you about some stories with Bill and even Candace. I've got a few that I will talk about here in just a second. But looking out here, I see a lot of kind faces, a lot of familiar faces. It's almost like a family reunion, and what better place to have a family reunion than in Roy Sewell Gymnasium? I was telling Miss Crouch earlier, you come to a game today, and I can still see, I know where everybody sits. I know where the Crouches sit, I know where the Floyds sit, I know where Bill sits, I know where Ed sits. I mean, it's like it never changes. It's like you're in a time warp here. But that's what makes this night so special. We're missing a few people here tonight, and one of them I miss dearly. Pistol is not here with us tonight. She would have eaten this up, and had she been here, I might have more stats to give you than I do. I kept up with him, I thought, but I'm pretty sure that my wife lost them somewhere. She says she didn't, but I'm pretty sure she did, because I think I knew where they were, but I don't know. Another guy that will be patting everybody on the back and telling stories is Coach Whited, and we'll say a special prayer for him and his family tonight that he will come back safely. We truly miss him. Another person that we truly miss tonight is Bobby Hale, Coach Hale. He would have loved to have been here. He would have really eating this up as well. If you get a chance to go see him, go see him. He's a joy to, it uplifts you when you go see him. It makes you feel better. So if you get a chance, go see him. But he would have loved to have been here, Candace. He had many stories, and he was a big part of you too. So I'm here to introduce Candace Mitchell Burtner. And if Candace was asked, I'm sure she would tell me that she didn't deserve this, and that she would just as soon her teammates take some of the honor in her place. So if you were a teammate, are these the only 3 teammates that we have here tonight with us? I know we've talked to several, but so we've got Jesse and Heather and Shelly here tonight, and I was able to remember their names. I was going to have them stand, but there's only 3 of them, and they're right here. So they were a very special team, very tight-knit team. They were probably the closest team I ever had as far as actually loving each other. They were friends then, they're friends even today, and that says a lot about the people that they are. They were a team full of talent. Each one of them had their own skills. Some of them were scorers, some of them were passers, some of them were rebounders, but they all had their own skill, and they all contributed equally to the team. And they played some of the top teams in the state. This was a hotbed of girls basketball at that time when they came along. But also they played nationally ranked teams, and they did extremely well against nationally ranked teams as well. They lost 7 games in their 4 years that they played together. 7. And I can remember every one of them. They won the district tournament every year. They never lost a game in this gym. They were ranked nationally number 1. This team wasn't ranked number 1, but they were in top 10 nationally, and they were ranked number 1 in the state of Tennessee at some point in time every year that they played. And that's a pretty good accomplishment in itself. So I was trying to come up with something to say tonight about Candace, and I called our Texas number teammates and asked them to give up some stuff on her, but nobody did. And I don't know if she was just that good, or if they're just that tight, or they can't remember. But I think they're getting old enough that they can't remember. I should have probably talked to Brad. Brad probably could have had a story or two, maybe, that he might have told on her. But I have an article. This is the irony of it. I was trying to find my stats, and I thought I had them in this. And I went downstairs, and my wife, obviously, I told you, I think she did something with them. But I opened up the thing, and there was one article, just one, in this whole thing. And I want to read this to you because I think it's very ironic, and to me it tells more about Candace than anything I probably could tell if you'll just listen to it. So it says, sympathies went out to the Lebanon announcer in the girls' contest who grew weary of saying, "And there's another basket" by Candace Mitchell. And her quote was, she said, "Well, I was open, and I just happened to be on tonight," says Mitchell, who scored 28 points on 14 field goals. She signed to play with Belmont University in November. She said, "I usually get in trouble if I don't take shots. My coach, Steve Holland, gets mad when I don't take shots." Now, if you're that good, you shouldn't have to force somebody to take a shot. But that was Candace. She was as smooth, game in and game out as anybody I've ever seen. I mean, you knew what you were getting every night, and it was a joy to actually be a part of it. We went and played a tournament in Missouri their senior year. And I don't know if y'all remember this or not, but before we got there, everybody said, "You can't beat this team because they won 109 games in a row or whatever, and the referees take care of them, and you're not going to beat them." So I was geared up going into the game, thinking we're not going to get a fair shake. And we played Candace. I don't know if you remember this or not. She was 14 of 14, 28 points. Third quarter, we're ahead. Referee blows his whistle, calls a foul. Their coach goes like this. The official scorer puts down the fouls, and they foul Candace out of the ball game in the third quarter. And she didn't have 5 fouls. And I knew she didn't have 5 fouls, and Candace knew she didn't have 5 fouls. But the referee didn't know that she had 5 fouls. So Candace got me in trouble that night because I threw an absolute fit. even to the point that after the game, the tournament director came in the locker room, and I thought, oh no, this is going to be bad. And he said, I just want you to know that you were right, and she didn't have 5 fouls. And everybody in the gym knew that she didn't have 5 fouls. And I thought, well, but you know, to have 28 points and 14 of 14, that's an amazing thing. That doesn't happen all the time, and it happened more than once with her. Her shooting percentages were outstanding, and they always were. She was sort of the brick that held the team together. When things got tough, the teammates knew who to get the ball to. When it got crunch time, I didn't have to call a play for them. They knew who to get the ball to because she was that type of a leader. So where did she get her skills? It's a good question. I know her mom was a standout player in Van Buren County, and I assume that's probably where she got her ability from. I'm thinking. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Her dad, Wayne, was an outstanding athlete here at White County High School. Her brother, Cameron, state championship, great athlete as well. Her uncles are here tonight, the two that I know. Steve is here, and of course, you always had Stan Mitchell, pretty good athlete himself. So she came from a very athletic family. She played a lot of pickup games, I'm sure, with her brothers and Brad, and I don't even want to hear about all the pickup games, but I'm sure they were pretty intense. So Candace was a coach's dream. There's not many teams that you can have that you know that you're going to get 15 to 30 points out of somebody every night. It was every night. 7 or 8 rebounds, 15 foot in, she was deadly. As Brad said, she was an automatic basket from 15 foot in. I can still see her doing a little turnaround jump shot that she did. Anytime we could get the ball to her in the post area, it was almost automatic that she was going to score. She averaged 20 points a game her senior year. Her sophomore year, her junior year, and her senior year, she was all district and all region. Her senior year, she was all district, all region, all mid-state, all state. Signed a scholarship to play at Belmont. She was a very special person, very special player. And she doesn't realize how good she was. And that's what makes Candace Candace, that she's very humble. And not many athletes are that way. I know I wouldn't be that way. If I was that good, I wouldn't be that way. One thing, as good as Candace was, she did have her faults. Her biggest fault was sometimes she would forget her shoes, maybe. She might forget her uniform, not important stuff. If the bus was supposed to leave at 3, about 3:10, she might show up. But you couldn't get mad at her because she just couldn't get mad at her. I mean, there's no way to get mad at Candace. And that's what makes it special. The most important thing here tonight, though, is not Candace's athletic ability. It's not her interaction with her teammates. It's not the points that she scored and all the acclimates that she has received. In my mind, the most important thing is that, and the thing I'm most proud of you for, Candace, is the godly woman and the mother that you have grown to be. That's more important than all these awards. The awards are nice. Your name's going to be up there forever. But that's something I think is very important. And I want to read something. I was going to let Heather talk, but Heather doesn't want to talk, I don't think. And I want to read something. I did call Heather and ask her if she knew anything on Candace. And so she sent me something, and I want to read it to you because I think it sums up Heather probably better than I could do myself. She says, we have so many memories, so many good memories. I met Candace in 5th grade, and this is when we began playing basketball together. We instantly connected and became very close friends. I will always remember we played for Coach Hale in the 9th grade and how he instructed us to play defense by corralling up chickens. Now, I'd like to have seen this. I didn't get to see it, but evidently it has a lasting impression on everybody. I think of the Rocky movie where he's chasing the chickens around. It's probably something sort of like that. Since Candace and I recently visited Coach Hale in the nursing home, and she reminded him of that moment, and he just laughed and laughed. Throughout high school, Candace served as a role model for all of us. She demonstrated leadership through her compassion, support, and encouragement. Her actions and words were always focused on what was best for the teammates. I will never forget the excitement of riding the bus to games while listening to Eye of the Tiger on our portable CD player. Over the years on the court, we learned to anticipate each other's movements, allowing us to cut and drive and dive and pass the ball to one another and score. We had so much fun playing for White County High School. Even today, Candace remains my best friend, and I am forever grateful that God placed her in my path. And I'm sure she's not the only one. So Candace, enjoy your night. I will tell everybody how good you were. I've told your children. I've told everybody that I know. Everybody here knows how good you were. Anyone who saw you play knows that you belong here on this wall and with all the other great players that played at White County High School. So enjoy your time with your teammates and your family and your friends because you deserve this night. Thank you.
This is time we'll ask Candace to come up and say a few words. Candace?
Thank you, Coach Holland, for your kind words. And congratulations, GOAT. How did it take us this long to figure out your name meant greatest of all time? I thought it was Warriorette fan, but now I know it was golf player. I had no idea. So, great night, and it's such an honor to be doing this with you in the same year, on the same night. So, I have we might be here a while. But thank you, Shelly. Thank you for your words and for being here and for a lifelong friendship that is impossible to replace. My first memories of Shelly, very similar to hers of me, was on a basketball court during Little League years, junior pro. I think it was around 5 when I watched her play a game. And like she said, I was not very good at age 5, and so I watched her and I saw her intensity and this drive and the way she was willing to just throw her little body around anywhere just for the sake of getting that ball into the goal. And I was impressed, and in this particular game, she played so hard that she fouled out. I bet Patsy and Peggy remember this. She fouled out, and so when her coach told her she could not finish out this game, she ran off the court with her face in her hands, just sobbing, and her team had to finish that game with Shelly's intensity on the bench. I knew that night if I was going to play basketball, I wanted to be on her team. She was the first person to show me what real hustle looked like on the court. Now, as a 44-year-old, for one more day, I know how much sacrifice, perseverance, patience, and volunteer time is required to be a Little League coach. So I cannot move past these years without mentioning some names. H.L. England, Ronnie Foster, Bill Floyd, and Kenny Crouch were some of my Little League coaches. They all tried to get me to be more aggressive. Kenny Crouch told me I should pretend the ball was a $100 bill. Looking back, I'm sure they all wondered what would become of this girl who just flits and floats around. As a kid, I also went to every WCHS camp possible. Pivots, passes, and picks, oh my. With coaches like Keith Short and Ken Jolly in those years, these are where the fundamentals were ingrained. Others who also taught the fundamentals of life for me include Will England, Nancy Stone, David McCulley, and Herbert Officer. These were my Woodland Park heroes. In middle school, when I started 7th grade, I'm pretty sure I barely made the team. Playing basketball in White County during this era, surrounded by so many good athletes who had the same high school heroes as I did, including Ginger Jared, Lisa Leftwich, Christina Hutchins, Kelly Jolly, Amy Moore, Amber Clark. This scenario made it easy to get squeezed out. I didn't realize that as a 7th grader, but I did feel like I was the worst one on the team that year. However, this was also the year that I not only had to keep up with the new hustlers on my team, like Jesse and Shelly up here, but I also got to practice against players like Lindsay Floyd, Danielle Webb, Terry Brock, and Miranda Moore. At this point, it was either get better or get out. With middle school coaches like Gary Sparkman and Mary Lee, our middle school teams were successful, not only in games and championships, but also at skill improvement and lifelong friendship development. Other behind the White County scene basketball skill development for me was Selby Seals, who worked our butts off. All of you who did those practices, and no matter how good we thought we were, he was always better. And then my AAU coaches, Leslie Smith and Lynn Berkey, along with our very own Michael Dodgen. This crew was sharp. They knew how to help each player reach their full potential individually and with a team. The older I get, the more grateful I have become for these types of coaches who could always see the bigger picture. And because of that, they were willing to be the bad guys or hurt your feelings in order to make you think differently or to pull you out of your comfort zone and into places, situations, or skills that you did not know you were capable of. This reminds me of our God, and that we are his image bearers in more ways than we know. This is just another way of how we can show a deep love for others, and especially the next generation. So I would say coaches in the room, or any visionary with the willingness to do and say hard things with character, I hope you know that you have a ministry. Do not underestimate your position of authority, and don't forget to remember who it comes from. Encourage, challenge, encourage, discipline. Encourage, challenge, encourage, discipline, and repeat. All of my high school coaches did this. Even the boys' coaches at the time, Coach Roy Whited, had a big impact on me. He was the coach that you really did not want to disappoint. And what a gift that I got to slip in on some of Ken Jolly's last years of coaching. I remember the moment in this gym when he taught me the footwork to quicken my shot. That's a sweet memory. He encouraged and challenged me at the same time. So I took that challenge and spent hours, mostly at Debbie Bolden's basketball court on Sugar Hill, and perfected my 15-footer. Coach Bobby Hale was the head coach of our undefeated freshman team. As mentioned, he was also the assistant coach for our varsity team. He too encouraged, challenged, and disciplined us, but not without laughing in our face. At something ridiculous, Heather said, no doubt. There's no telling how many ankles he has taped up in his lifetime. He was the master ankle taper-upper. I always thought he had the heart of a whale, and still his heart shines through his face. I went to visit him recently and got to tell him about this induction into the Hall of Fame, and his response was in his face. But he also got that little magnet board that he writes on and just drew a big heart on it. That heart just kind of sums up Coach Hale for me. And Coach Steve Holland, he also encouraged, challenged, and disciplined. Thank you for believing in me as a player and a human, for creating opportunities, for building confidence, and mostly for exuding the character of Christ to us. You did this with your words, your actions, the way you treated us, the way you spoke to us, the priorities that you had, and the way you treated your wife. These are all evidence of the God you serve and his character. And we know that behind every good man is a strong woman. So thank you, Tamara, for all your energy, your effort, your miles, and your smiles. And also congratulations on 2 wonderful children. They're fun to keep up with. I'm going to talk about my friend Heather for a minute. I'm going to look over here so I don't cry. I just need a quick comic relief. Anybody? Heather's parents, H.L. and Rita England, were instrumental in encouraging me. And I want to remember them today. I have such great memories with them as a kid. And I want you to know, Heather, that you reflect them. Their kindness, their love for each other, and their dedication to things they loved and the people they loved. And I'm so thankful they raised you to be who you are. They knew there was something special about you. And from my point of view, they both encouraged that in you. They let you be the silly, fun person that you are. I'm grateful that you were and are still my super fun friend. You have brought so much joy to my life, and I think I can say to all of our lives, those of us that know you. All right, so I got a story. This will help me out. One day, I think we were freshmen, Heather came to me and said, okay, we got to get more plays in the paint. We really only had our high-low thing going. And she said, we gotta find some more plays that we can do and work together. And so we worked, and we came up with something we called cut and dive. And really, it was just us passing the ball back and forth to each other until one of us shot it. But we were really proud, and if it ever pulled off in a game, we got so excited. That story just represents the kind of teammates that I had to grow with. There was no selfishness. No one cared who got the credit or who scored the most points. We were all in it for the team, the camaraderie, the fun, and the wins. Jessie Taylor was quick and sneaky smart on that court. She was so fun to play with. I can't tell you how many times I'd be running down the court to get in my position on defense, and I looked back over my shoulder, and Jessie had stolen the ball and was making a layup on the other end. And she was deadly at the three-point line. And Tanya Cummings, who I thought she might be here tonight, but she was savvy under that goal. If we could just get it to her, we knew it was a score. Tanya was so solid, and I'm not just talking about basketball. I never heard her say a mean or unkind word about anyone. She knew what good character was at a young age and knew what it looked like, and she upheld that all through school. We were in elementary, middle, and high school together, so I can say that. I just want her to know that I have been encouraged by her character. And I know I've talked about Shelly Sims Little. Shelly was a perfect point guard because she not only led our plays, but she also led our hustle factor. No one could ever out-hustle Shelly. So she always set the tone, the hustle tone, for the rest of us that we all had to keep up with. She kind of shared our parallel lives, so I'll jump to the next. But now we both have daughters here who play, and so we kind of get to surprise and pass each other in gyms around. So that's always fun. I would not be the person I am today without a certain group of people here tonight. How many miles have been traveled all over this area by a community who shows up with love and support and encouragement for youngsters in this town? How many times has Harold Walker at the first whistle said, "He's been doing it all night, Rev"? Just to show his love and compassion and support for the kids on the court, who he loves very well. The Walker family, the Crouches, the Floyds, the Sparkmans, and the Knoxes have been my second family as long as I've known. You guys were there with the hugs after every game, whether I played great or terrible, and through all the wins and losses. This crew has walked through some deep trenches and celebrations together. You all are a safe place. Your unity and friendship and your strong faith created a tight boundary for us as kids growing up. And as a parent, I now know the stronger the boundary, the stronger the love. You guys encouraged, challenged, and disciplined together. My husband teases me that I grew up in some sort of utopia called Sparta. I guess he gets this idea because of the way I talk about the people here and the community here. And he's not wrong. When you come from a place where you are well loved by your parents and their friends kids and the teachers and coaches and youth leaders and pastors and youth group friends and your teammates, I would say that's pretty near utopian. To paraphrase Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much is required. And I believe that. I can look out in this room and know that I have been given much by the Lord. I have been given much through all of you in this room, and many represented here who cannot be here physically. Thank you to my Uncle Steve for being here, who, along with my dad, represents my Uncle Stan, who is also in the Hall of Fame, as mentioned, so that's really cool. Our friend Sandra Beadle Sparkman, who is the very best of encouragers. We all know this. Lindsay Floyd, who is many things to me, but one of my favorite memories with her was in our team practices. When we did partner drills, she and I would often pair up together. Coach Holland would say, "Grab a partner." And I just remember her walking up to me like she was a cowgirl and getting in my face and saying, "What about it, partner?" It's so silly, but I think about that all the time and just laugh. She, along with Kylie Crouch, always treated me like their little sister, but this was because their families taught them that I was their little sister. Speaking of Kylie, there could not have been a more perfect personality for a team manager. I can say to this day, if Kylie Crouch tells me to do something, boy, I'm going to do it. She was organized to a T. Kylie, thanks for being who you are. And then we have Tammy Wilhite, known better by all of us as Pistol. She was our sports fanatic, the glue to game nights, and she did her best encouragement through sarcasm or through an article in the paper. She kept us all in the know when it came to sports in this town. I'll share this. Brad Walker, Lindsey Floyd, and I used to argue over who was Pistol's second favorite, after Kelly Jolly, of course. I don't think we ever really settled it, but Brad, I don't think it was you or me, either one, yeah. As I try to close out, I want to thank my extended family who drove hours to be here tonight. It means a lot that you all came. Thank you. My aunts and uncles and cousins, and my niece Carly. She has 3 darling siblings that are all uniquely special to me, Kate, McKinley, and Colin. My brother Cameron, to this day, is still my favorite conversationalist. He and I used to play one-on-one, and then once he got old enough to beat me, I think we stopped playing. I guess that's the first child in me. I always had to win. Hopefully I'll outgrow that one day, right, Reese? And then my other brother, Brad Walker, who lived just down the street. These two were the ones who toughened me up. Whether it was running or biking Sugar Hill, building forts, climbing trees, swinging on vines, or jumping on Bart's waterbed, I had to keep up. Especially when our parents let us go a little farther down the road to play football with Jared and Jeremy Austin, along with the Hahn boys. I'm pretty sure I was always the last one picked for teams. I had the most fun cheering you guys on during the state championship. I got to be in the stands with Goat for these games, and Ed Metcalf and the whole Second Act Deli crew. That was fun. At the time, there was no better place to be. Brooke Quinn, Beth Ann Johnson, and I made signs, one of which said, "That's got me," after Pistol, of course, Pistol's quote. Looking back, that was my first experience of my heart feeling like it was going to swell out of my chest with pride for someone I dearly loved. Speaking of heart swelling, my husband Wes and my daughter Reese are both here tonight. These two, they're kind of like the same person, but they both spoil me rotten and challenge me at the same time. Reese is our old and deep soul, but still a very silly teenage girl. She asks great questions and seeking the deeper things in life. She's a sophomore in high school and plays basketball for her team and is doing quite well this year. Thank you for representing tonight. She has 3 siblings who could not be here. Max is a senior in high school this year and had his own game tonight that he was playing. Grace is an 8th grader, a social butterfly, and she is on a youth retreat this weekend. And our youngest, Scarlett, is a 5th grader who also highly values her friends, and so she is away as well. Okay, I think it's the guys who usually say this line, but I'm going to use it tonight because it fits and because I'm the speaker. I'm going to let everyone know here tonight that I know that I married up. The Lord knew that I needed a patient man, and so he introduced me to Wes Bertner through basketball at Belmont. Wes is the most steady person I've ever known. He knows who he is, he knows whose he is, and he lives that out as a servant leader in our family daily. Thank you for loving us well and for always keeping your priorities clear. And he's also in the Hall of Fame for basketball at Belmont. I know he wouldn't want me to say that, but So this is the part I talk about my parents. When I get to this part, nothing ever seems adequate. And if you know them, you know why. They pour into people. They make things beautiful. They're not afraid to work hard or sacrifice that which is good for that which is best. They show up, they dig in, they ask questions and solve problems. They use their God-given gifts and talents to love this community well. And I, along with my brother, have been on the receiving end of these gifts all of my life. When it came to basketball, my parents were never critical of me, but they were very much realist. So they would never let us think too highly of ourselves or too lowly. I remember my dad's advice was, hey, if you can shoot it, they'll find a spot for you on the court. I think my brother and I both took this to heart. Do not ask either one of us to dribble, but we'll shoot it all night. Right, Cameron? So I guess it's a good thing we had excellent passers and ball handlers on our team, both of us. My mom claims that she didn't know enough about basketball to be critical at that time. But I'm going to claim it was just wise parenting from them because, like Coach said, she was in the Hall of Fame in her own high school for basketball and still holds the highest scoring record at 68 points in one game. I'm going to share one story or memory that sums up my parents and who they are. I have multiple memories of my mom in the kitchen making food, of course, and then packing it up to take to someone. This particular story, my dad was taking it to Mr. Herbert Officer. It was after he had had his stroke. He would often take Cameron or myself along for the visit, and sometimes both of us. I'm sure neither of us enjoyed going at the time because Dad would stay and talk and visit with Herbert while we might try to engage for a little bit and then just get bored and restless. But looking back, I'm so glad he took us. He was teaching us so much by dragging us along in his servanthood. Two things that I have learned from that. Number one, he taught us that it was important to serve others. And number two, he was teaching us to value the older generation, their wisdom, and the incredible value they add to the lives and hearts around them. And this is something that easily gets lost on generations. I think if I can pass these two lessons on to my own children, I'll be doing pretty good. It's stories and memories like this that make a community a thriving one. My parents lead by serving people, and it's not just those they adore or who are in their close-knit circle. It is anyone in need that the Lord puts in their path. I have seen this modeled out for me over and over in my life. But they're not the only ones in this room or in this town who do that. I would say White County is full of servant leaders. This entire event is a testament to community, or quite literally a whole town of generations that have continuously poured into people, making this town what it is. Psalm 40 says that he will place your foot on a rock, a solid foundation. And we know that God works through his children. So my solid foundation has been this White County community. It has been White County High School, First Baptist Church, the YMCA, Sugar Hill Road, Story Mountain, Quebec Farms, Gillen, these gymnasiums, and all the people that fill those places. And that is you. You teachers, leaders, caretakers, friends who challenge and encourage, speaking truth and love, leading with trust and obedience. I believe we have a very intentional Creator, and when life is lived out under His authority and His design, beautiful things are built into a community. And I have been one to experience the results. I know we live in a broken world that is full of pain and suffering and failures and disappointments. And we tackle those as they come. But this type of encouragement and building each other up and encompassed by love has to be close to what God intended for life in a small town. I hope I have reciprocated an inkling of the encouragement that you all have provided me. So I'll leave you with this challenge to the White County High School community, which is all of you, and all of those that were here before us, and all who are coming after. So any kids in the room, that's you. Keep doing what you're doing or what you're seeing, pouring into others and teaching the next generation what a good community looks like. In this way, we share Jesus with our lives. Thank you.
I think somebody picked my speech up. I think Candace got excited with all the papers she had and took mine with her. Have you got it? Good. I'm pretty good at winging it, but I didn't want to pull that off. Thank you for both individuals. It's a great night here. And throughout the history of White County athletics, it's always been a big part of our hometown. And last summer, I was working with some students on a project with the journalism department, and we were looking into the 1929 basketball team. And you know, the banner's up there, and people have asked me about the 1929 girls basketball team. And I would say, we were state champions. And that's all I knew. And then when we looked into the facts about the 29 team, and you know, having followed girls basketball and boys basketball my whole life growing up here, the facts expanded the history of things related to White County High School. The young ladies that made up that team were not the Warriorettes, which I found to be very astonishing because, you know, what do we call White County basketball? Warriorette basketball. They were actually the Spartanettes. And several members of that team went on to play college basketball at Tennessee Tech and Martin and other schools throughout the state. A lot of them became teachers, and a lot of them came back and worked here in our community and the surrounding communities. And it just goes to show that all the way back to the start of our school, there's been a history of great things in athletics. And tonight's honorees have expanded my knowledge of WCHS athletics as well, because Bill Franklin, I wasn't around when you played. Because you know that, because I wasn't born until we talked about this week was, 1967 when Cheryl Lynn was. And that was a little before my time. And Ms. Mitchell's career was during a time when I had moved away and I was actually coaching in Florida. The accolades of these true representatives of Warriors and Warriorettes athletics of these two individuals are astounding. First, let me talk about Mr. Bill Franklin. Bill Franklin was on our first golf team. He was a state finalist. He finished 5th in the state. He was on the first two teams. He made the first two state tournaments in the first 2 years of White County High School golf. He went on, played at Tennessee Tech University, and as they said, he joined the Air Force. His career here, and I asked him this exact question, as I said, Mr. Franklin, they said you scored the lowest round in White County High School history. He said, well, there wasn't any rounds. I guess I did, but I don't know if I did or didn't. And that's Mr. Franklin. He's going to always just say okay and move on. But Mr. Franklin, we really, really appreciate what you've done for our community and starting something that still goes today, and everybody, boys and girls, reap the benefits from what you've done for White County Golf. And thank you. Candace Mitchell, she lettered 4 years in basketball, 2 years in volleyball, was a member of state tournament teams in 96 and 97, scored 1,421 points in her career, had a team record of 81, no, that's not, lost 7 losses, and no home losses in her career. She was Class 3A All-Mid-State, second team in 96 and 97, All-State Honorable Mention in 96, 7A All-District First Team in 96 and 97, 7 AAA District MVP in 98, 7 AAA All-Tournament Team in 96, 97, and 98, 4 AAA All-Region Team, 96, 97, and 98, the top warrior at free throw and shooting percentages in 96, 97, and 98, Miss Basketball for White County High School in 1998, Nashville Banner MVP All-Mid-State, Tennessee All-Mid-State, first team in 98, Tennessee All-State, Street and Smith, U.S. Today, All-American Honorable Mention, 1998, Tennessee Georgia All-Star Game selection in 1998, graduated 9th in her class, and signed to play at Belmont University, where she was a 4-year college letterman. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Bill Franklin and Mrs. Candace Mitchell Bertner to come forward. It is my pleasure to officially induct to the class of 2025 of the White County High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Mrs. Candace Mitchell Bertner and Mr. Bill Franklin. And this concludes our ceremony for tonight. We appreciate everyone that comes out and supports White County basketball and came out tonight to support the White County High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Thank you for coming out. Everyone have a good night.
Let me get this podium out of the way, and y'all can